Are you on thyroid hormone replacement but still feel awful? Or are your thyroid levels normal yet you have classic symptoms? Do you feel like you've tried everything and don't know what to do next? Do you wonder how you can get to the true root causes of autoimmunity or functional hypothyroidism? Are you holding out for a natural way to resolve your symptoms? Well, you are in the right place. Welcome to the Heal Your Thyroid podcast. I am Madeleine Lowry, a neural retraining specialist and founder of Twin Cities Neural Retraining and creator of the 12-week self-paced Thyroid Stress Solution program. I work with clients in virtual sessions to resolve the hidden sources of stress behind chronic health issues, including thyroid function. In this episode, I'm going to talk about my client Kelly and her experience with advanced neural retraining for her chronic fatigue, Hashimoto's, anxiety, acne, and sleep issues. Kelly is a very special client of mine, and I think that you will find her story and her insights compelling because she is highly educated in medical issues and had tried everything to regain her health. If you're finally ready to address your thyroid issues in a new way, a mind-body way, then this podcast is for you. I'm going to connect the dots for you so that you will understand the real reasons you still have thyroid problems, despite everything you've tried, and what you can do about it. Could neural retraining be your best next step to thyroid healing? Take our quiz at tcneuralretraining.solutions to find out. So let me tell you a little bit about my client, Kelly. She was trained in Western medicine. She's an MD, but when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, she found that medicine had little to offer her. That is when she retrained as a naturopath. And later, she got a degree in nutrition as well. This is a woman who had definitely not wasted any opportunities to investigate new paths to recovering her health. So by the time we met, Dr. Kelly had come a long way in her healing journey, and she had tried a lot of things to regain her health, including a fair number of emotional fitness and brain retraining methods. Let's listen to Kelly describe where she was at when we met. She had recovered from MS, but she still had chronic fatigue, anxiety, sleep issues, and Hashimoto's.
I was diagnosed with MS. I was in my 20s. I had 2 young children, and I was basically told to go home and be with them. And it equated to a death sentence, Madeleine. And this was not okay for me. I literally, up until this point, medicine was everything to me. My husband's a medical doctor as well. Everything that I'd worked for and paid so much money to be, the letters behind my name were worthless for me. And so I had to go back and I got a naturopathic medical degree. And I still use those principles to this day because they're the reason why I'm alive and I'm still here, is because I didn't choose the road where the end point, we had no answers. In medicine, diagnoses like MS are idiopathic. And, that's Greek for, we have no idea. But, we don't know why your brain's attacking itself. But, here's some steroids. Well, I just didn't, that didn't resonate with me. And so naturopathic medicine helped me use nutrition and detoxification and really get back up on my feet. And I will say that we're going to get into a little bit more of my story, but I had some residual symptoms. I actually was diagnosed with Lyme and mold and a lot of nutritional deficiencies and things. And so, I stepped from medicine to naturopathic medicine to try and, really help my foundational health. But there were some things that were still hanging out. I still had quite a bit of fatigue, a lot of emotional issues that I think, first of all, in medicine, I was never taught that emotional fitness mattered. I was really never taught that the mind-body connection was strong enough to really keep someone from their ultimate health. Well, so life is an evolution. Life is like, we're here to learn, right? So it was step by step. And so I was using the naturopathic principles, getting better, but there was just something that was holding me back. And I will say this is that I had tried everything. I was completely open to EMDR, to brain tap, to just regular EFT tapping, EMDR, I said that, and then DNRS. I literally leveled up, and I wasn't afraid to look in Pandora's box and find out, was some of the emotional things that had happened or generational things that have, was that causing my fatigue? But I really just hit a plateau where I still was living with chronic fatigue. And I think one of the doctors, brilliant doctors who helped me, Dr. Karen Verkota, she said to me, she's like, Kelly, you've forgotten what it's like to live without fatigue. You've forgotten what it feels like to be in a body without fatigue. So I think up until I met you in June, I was just living in this state that I thought was okay. But after we started working together, things dramatically changed. So that's kind of my story.
So, as Dr. Kelly says, she tried EMDR, she tried EFT tapping, she tried DNRS, and she tried brain tapping. She had been around this block several times. She had 2 medical degrees and a degree in nutrition, and so when she was referred to me, she was open, but had no expectations. And I don't blame her. I mean, she knows everything and has tried everything, right? Let's listen to her describe the fitness factors behind thyroid health, the importance of emotional healing with advanced neural retraining, and her explanation of the impact of the cell danger response, which can be caused by emotional trauma.
And I do say that in the book that we have coming out, The Thyroid Debacle, I use the word emotional fitness because in this book, it's not just about thyroid, it's about recovering from chronic illness and how our fitness factors, emotional fitness is one, gut health, habitual health, brain health, environmental health, they're all fitness factors that we just optimize, right? We just optimize because there was no one magic pill that really helped me. There was no one magical treatment. People ask me like, how did you go from bedridden, Kelly, to literally 110% better? And I do credit this last huge jump that I've had. It's all MAP therapy. It is all, and I'm so excited. And I really like to share that in this podcast, but it was really just putting all these fitness factors and making sure you're taking care of them, because if you're taking care of your gut and you're taking all your right supplements and your diet's perfect, but if your emotional health is a disaster, I have just not seen good results, right? And neither have you. And the practice that I have, I see people who have seen everyone, and they just think, just this last week, this woman had seen, 20 practitioners, and she's on a suitcase of supplements, and she just couldn't understand why, what it was going on. And what I explained to her, and I'll explain, in this podcast, is there's this concept called the cell danger response by Robert Navio, a paper written, I believe it was in 2014, just groundbreaking. And in this paper, he talks about the cell danger response. And what that is that the mitochondria, so our little powerhouses of our cells, they can sense a decrease in electron flow. So the decrease in electron flow can come from a Lyme disease infection, it can come from heavy metals, it can come from mold, or it can come from an emotional trauma. Emotional trauma can be, it's subjective, right? It's completely subjective. One thing that would be a very emotional trauma on someone might not face another person. But what happens is that the cell danger response is set off in the body, and this response is a primordial mechanism to help protect the host. It is completely normal. So if I am shopping at Target and I get a little virus, from the cart, well, actually, maybe they're so sterile now, so maybe it's a different place, I'm picking up a virus, my body will it'll trigger a cell danger response, meaning red flag, we are under siege. We have to change metabolism. We have to slow down thyroid hormone production. We have to slow down brain function. We have to get this person, this host, to get in bed so that they recover. Okay, completely normal, completely normal. And then what happens is that when the virus is over and when the immune system is taking care of it, we come out of the cell danger response and we feel better and we're back and we're feeling better. But what happens in chronic disease, and my hypothesis is that with this emotional health that no one is addressing, or we're trying to address it, but we're doing the best we can, is that we're stuck in the cell danger response. Our body still thinks we are under siege. Our body and our brain, the whole, everything that we have, spiritual, emotional, bodily health, is stuck in this response. And so what's difficult is that as practitioners, we see this every day. We see people who are stuck in the cell danger response, but it's difficult to get the body to think that it's okay to come out when you've been in it so long. For things like chronic Lyme, chronic mole, chronic Epstein-Barr, these are the things where the body still thinks it needs to have all these resources downplayed. So people have brain fog, their thyroids don't work, their gut health. I brought up the article, I brought up summary, and it says when the CDR, cell danger response, persists abnormally, whole body metabolism and the gut microbiome are disturbed. The collective performance of the multiple organ system is impaired, behavior is impaired, and chronic disease results. So lifting the cell danger response, again, it's like once I've countless people who come for my help and they're like, I don't have Lyme disease anymore. I don't have the spirochetes running through my blood, but I feel terrible. I feel terrible. And I have a hypothesis, and we're going to do some research on this, Madeleine and I, that MAP therapy, I believe, pulled me out of the cell danger response. And so my body went, we're back, just like I had the flu, and then the cell danger response turns off and you feel better. So I subjectively felt so much better, even, I dare I say, even after the first session. And I'm not trying to tell people it's going to work after the first session, but something completely rewired in my brain, and I immediately felt that shift.
Now, you may be wondering what it is like to be in a MAP session, an advanced neural retraining session. Let's hear Dr. Kelly describe her experience. And let me just say that everyone's experience of MAP sessions is very individual. Your subconscious mind is in charge of the session at all times. This is a method that harnesses the subconscious mind's ability to heal itself. Your mind sets the pace, and so that is very individual as well. Most people do not experience sessions as intensely as Dr. Kelly, and it is also very unusual to have the kind of symptom resolution that she did after one session. Most of my clients experience more subtle shifts, and it can take a half dozen to a dozen sessions to get to the physical shifts, though they will feel emotionally better, mentally better along the way. Okay, so in this clip, we are hearing how Dr. Kelly heard about my work and her experience of her first MAP session.
One of your previous guests, Kathy Moore, is my near and dear friend, and I would pretty much, do anything for Kathy, right? So Kathy and I are talking one day in probably in May 2020. And, I'm talking to her about I'm stuck, Kathy. She's one of the most brilliant practitioners on the planet. Kathy, I'm stuck. I have done everything. I have 10 letters after my name and I can't fix myself. Like, what is going on? I've tried it. And she, her Kathy, just beautiful, just ways. Well, let me tell you about the MAP method. Let me tell you about. And so I'm listening, and in my mind, because I think I know everything, I'm thinking, oh, Kathy, I've done the EMDR. I've even done DNRS, and for our listeners, dynamic neural retraining. It's very tedious. Like, it's a lot of time, and it just takes a lot of time, right? So I'm like, oh no, not one more of these. But I'm receptive. I'm very open. I'm very open to the fact that yes, something emotional, something limbic could be keeping me from not being 100%. And so I'm listening. And so really, I'm probably, just to be honest, I called at you and I reached out for Kathy, because I couldn't even think of another therapy, like really, really. So this is not a placebo effect. I would tell people that I'm like, I did not have a whole lot of expectation. It wasn't that I was against it. It's just that, when you get in this position, I mean, guys, I, I have a medical doctorate, a naturopathic doctorate, clinical nutrition doctorate, but I live in this diseased body. I understand how you feel. I understand that when people say, "Oh, have you tried this?" It's almost just like, oh, you just kind of want to give up. But so I did the first session with you, Madeleine. And right, it's really hard to go from, with EMDR, you can feel the vibration, something. So it was like we're sitting on a Zoom call and you're talking to my super conscious and all these kind of new words for me. But really my only job was to just be, right? Just be present and you don't have to think anything. But I could I could physically feel almost like crackling in my brain. I can't, it's like little popcorn. And I was like, wow, this is doing something. This is definitely doing something. And I think I had this big emotional release, and it's great because you're so wonderful and just so comforting in that I didn't know you from Adam, but I just felt like this is happening for my edification. This is happening for my benefit. And, got off of our call. And I remember walking over to my husband and he's like, you look like a different person. Your face, you look so different. And I really didn't ask him too much, but I could feel it. I could just absolutely feel like some, spark had lit or the veil had come off. Physically I felt better. I track everything. I have an Aura ring. I use all kinds of devices, but I noticed my HRV, heart rate variability, went up. And so that's objective data for me, where it wasn't, oh, I feel better subjectively. It was, I can prove that something happened neurologically. I started to get tons more deep restorative sleep. I just started to be able to handle stress better. I'm in process of doing another Dutch test, the dried urine assessment for my cortisol, to see if more of these objective measures. There's a test called the Genie test where you can it's a really high level test and it's expensive, and I really don't use it, and I don't really encourage anybody to go out and get it, because basically you're going to be able to tell if you're in the SAIL danger response or not, because are you stuck in chronic fatigue? Are you stuck in this chronic disease? But that is something too where we might explore using that as someone's in it, someone does the Genie test, someone does MAP therapy, they subjectively feel better, and then we can have the objective measures in it.
So you've just heard about her experience with sessions with me and the subjective changes, as well as the objective measures of the changes she felt. Please understand that the MAP method is a technique, and her experience working with me is not just based on the technique being used. I have, over the years, developed my own way of using MAP and have combined it with years of experience working with people with chronic health issues, which allows me to recognize patterns faster. Just like with any other modality, there are the natural gifts of the practitioner and their base of experience, and these are as important as the technique being used. In this clip, I ask her to compare her experience with MAP neural retraining and the other brain retraining modalities she has tried.
I think the first time that we talked on the phone, I was doing a consultation with you, and I had said, I've done EFT, I've done EMDR. I firmly believe in the mind-body connection. I've gotten some benefit from some of the things that I've done, meditation, and I like a device called the Brain Tap. I love heart rate variability training, all of this, you make gains, right? But the gains weren't enough for me to continue, and they weren't, because I'm busy. I have 3 kids, practicing and all these things. So I really wanted to know, kind of compared to the things that I've done, well, where do you see MAP? And you said MAP is is like it's on steroids. It works so much faster and quicker than some of the other training that I had done. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great. That it really does. And then I had listened to the Colette, also that interview that you did, and that was just a great foundation of kind of like where we're going with this. So that was for me one of the best things, is that you don't have to buy more equipment, you don't have to buy more supplements. You know what I mean? Because we talked about right before we started recording about how there's some sort of a, dare I say, addiction, but people want a substance, and so like last week, talking about the client I had with the suitcase of supplements, and I said, well, how do you feel? And she's like, I feel terrible. And I'm like, well, then obviously, do you logically think, and I very respectfully, do you logically think one more thing, one more dietary supplement, one more is going to really turn everything around for you? But yet there's something still where with people where when you talk about quantum fields and working on, that it's some sort of block or something, something in our humanness that really would rather cling to like a new potion or lotion or, so something rather than digging into the quantum field. And maybe it's just fear of the unknown. And at the point I was at, it was, I had put fear to the back seat because it was desperacy. It was, I know there's something, I have to explore. I have to be brave. I have to make, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to think that I don't have control over, my body, with supplements and things. It was, the physiological aspect. Like I say to people, I refer to Madeleine, I refer to you all the time because I say, I can get your glutathione status back on. I can fix your B vitamins and and help fill in gaps foundationally. I can help you optimize your gut. But what I just said about the cell danger response is that I have people who've been working on their gut, quote unquote, for 10 years, and they're still trapped with this bad gut. Well, the cell danger response says, if the cell danger response is turned on, your gut's never going to get better. It's just not, you're just spinning your wheels. So when I did the MAP therapy, again, it was so foundationally different after even the first session. And I've worked, so chronic fatigue was my issue. And I was completely convinced that it was still something I was missing physiologically. Was I not getting enough CoQ10? Was I not getting enough, B12? Something. And I would have probably, if I wouldn't have met you, I'd probably still be down this rabbit hole trying to chase things that weren't the foundational issue. So after I had this appointment and I felt this release and the chronic fatigue, I stopped taking a lot of the supplementation I was taking. I got to stop doing all these extraneous things. And it was like just this weight got lifted off of me. So that's where I talk about when I'm referring people to you and I'm continuing to work on all kinds of things with you, not just chronic fatigue, is that we're getting at the root cause, the core. And it's not emotional health in everyone. I do not say your problem is emotional. I do not do that. I know there's some well-meaning practitioners where it's like everybody has Lyme, everybody has mole, everybody has X, Y, and Z. I'm not, your problem is emotional fitness. However, I think that we're living in such a stressful time that it is worth a shot. So for me too, I also started with acne. I'm old. I don't need to have, wrinkles and blemishes at the same time. And I thought, after I got such good results with chronic fatigue, I thought, you know what? I've tried everything for my skin. I have literally tried everything inside, outside, So I'm like, hey, man, let's just try, skin and acne. And we went through the connections you make, Madeleine, and it is unbelievable. It's still unbelievable. But I have not, probably 5-6 months now, my skin is perfect. And I would have never in a million years thought that there was something emotionally driving that. But it's at this point, it must have been, because it's gone. It's completely gone. But what have I ever thought that? No. And some other issues that I've had, it's like, now I really am very open to exploring because of the quickness of MAP and how it really helps rewire. And just to get into a little sidetrack, is that Madeleine gives commands, a map on the go. So when I'm starting to feel a little bit like of a pinch of fatigue or something that's bothering me, I will use the map on the go, and I subjectively feel better, and other things will subjectively get better. And so those have been very helpful too for me.
So I hope that you are hearing the enthusiasm, but also the rationality. Dr. Kelly does not think the roots of every chronic symptom are emotional. But if you've tried everything and feel stuck or stalled out in your healing as she did, then investigating hidden stressors in the subconscious mind is a reasonable next step. And this is why we ask you to assess yourself by taking our quiz. Find it at tcneuralretraining.solutions. You can hear my whole conversation with Dr. Kelly in my other podcast, Flourish with Neural Retraining, episode 36, which you can find on our YouTube channel at TC Neural Retraining. You can read what Dr. Kelly wrote about her work in The Thyroid Debacle, the book she co-authored with Dr. Eric Balkavage, a foremost expert in thyroid health. And you can also check out the conversation Dr. Kelly and I had with Dr. Eric about the application of neural retraining for thyroid function in episode 88 of the Thyroid Answers podcast. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to try advanced neural retraining for yourself, I invite you to join the Heal Your Thyroid, the Mind-Body Solution community on Facebook, where opportunities to join group introductory sessions are announced. If you like what you are hearing, please listen again and remember to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your review is the best way to raise awareness of this information, and I greatly appreciate each and every review. Content of this podcast, copyright 2024 by Twin Cities Neural Retraining. Music by Barbara Ben.